Actually, I just realized maybe I should introduce myself to your channel and then you probably do an introduction to mine, because
Probably, yeah.
people are just gonna start this video and be like, who the hell is this chick? Like,
Yep.
what the hell?
You know, we're just like A+ YouTubers. We know exactly what we're doing all the time. Okay, so introduction. I'm here with Leilah from, oh my god, I just forgot the name of your channel.
Leilah's Libraries.
I'm great at this, yeah. So hi, I'm here with Leilah's Libraries, with Leilah from Leilah's Library, and we're going to be doing the Reading Habits book tag. So if you want to say hi, Leilah, you're welcome to.
Hi. I literally can't stop laughing.
Like, we're a bit giggly right now.
Okay, I'm fine. Okay. I've contained myself. I'm good.
Okay. So question 1. Do you have a certain place at home for reading?
No, I don't really have a specific place, since I generally read everywhere and I don't really have time to just read at one place.
Same. If you're wondering why we're laughing so much and going through these slightly quicker, we already recorded like we did the first 4, but I did not record them. So there'll be slightly less talking for these like first 4. 3? We only made it through 3 in that time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, okay.
And there'll be a bit more laughing as well.
Yeah. Bookmark or random piece of paper?
Random piece of paper.
And yeah, hopefully a bookmark, but usually whatever's nearby. So if it's not a bookmark, then it's a random piece of paper.
Or a fork, or a phone.
True, yes. Literally whatever's nearby, even if it's not paper. If it's a solid object, I will still use it.
I've honestly never seen someone use a fork. Like,
we've known each other for 30 minutes and you're already roasting me about my bookmark choices. So just great.
I'm sorry. I have an entire bottom drawer of like my my desk that has like sticky notes and little papers in them. So I usually have a like big amount of papers that I can just grab in my room. So usually that's just what I use. I've honestly never seen anyone just
I was reading in the kitchen and I needed something. At least it wasn't a knife.
I have to be honest, a knife would probably be better, because if someone was trying to steal your book, you could just stab them and be like, no.
Okay, wow. I did not know this was like bookmark constructive criticism time. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Next question. Can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain number of pages? Why is that one so long?
Right? I have to stop, not at like the end of a chapter, but at like a break in action, because if I stop reading like during the action, it also kind of releases the tension. And when you're reading, you kind of want the tension to be there, because that makes you, feel the danger. I don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. It depends on what kind of book I'm reading. Like, if I'm reading more like a YA or like a middle grade almost, like I can pretty much just stop anywhere. But whenever I'm reading like the larger, like adult fantasy books, those I usually try to get to like a chapter break or like a stopping point, because those are just so much harder to get into if you don't like remember exactly where you are.
Yeah. How do you read Brandon Sanderson? This is a very random one, but like, do you end at the end of a chapter, or like a...
Yeah, I try to. I read Brandon Sanderson both in like paperback or like physical copy and over audiobook. So
Yeah.
it's really difficult to try and switch from like audiobook if I'm in the middle of like a chapter and I don't know the page number. So with that specifically, I try to get to a chapter break, but sometimes it just doesn't happen and I'm stuck like trying not to read ahead while finding my place.
I think that's a struggle. I've never had I've only read like what 3 audiobooks, and that's been recently. And I can't imagine switching from an audiobook to like actual physical reading. It's such a weird, like, I don't know.
Definitely a different experience. That's why I don't do that a lot. I do that specifically with the Brandon Sanderson books because A, they're huge, and B, I was trying to get done with the first 3 before Rhythm of War came out. And it just came out, I think, like a week or so ago. And so I wanted to finish up the rest of the series, and so I was listening to it on like 1.9 speed to try and power through them. But I definitely do want to go through and do like a reread. But with Rhythm of War, I did physical and like audio, mainly because like if I got to a point and I had to go do something, but there was like so much action and tension, I'm like, I need to know what happens. So then I'd switch over to audio. But like it was just so good, and I wanted to like take the time to savor it, that I also read it like in the physical format.
Yeah.
I've only read what do you call it? I'm like in the middle of Mistborn right now. I bought it the other day, and I can't stop reading it. And I've read Warbreaker, so that's about like what I've read from Brandon Sanderson. But I can't wait to read more. I'm like dying.
Oh my gosh, yes, I can't wait to hear what you think. I haven't read Mistborn. I went about this in the completely wrong way. I've read Elantris, and then I read the Stormlight Archive, and Warbreaker, and Edge Dancer.
Yeah.
Like, I read the novella, but everyone's like, oh, you have to read Mistborn before everything else, and I'm like, I completely blew past Mistborn, so it's actually on my TBR for this month. Because I'm like, I probably need to go back and read that at some point.
Yeah, probably. I don't really know how you're supposed to read it, so I've just been reading it with like whatever. I've just been like, eh.
Oh yeah, like there's no real way to read it. Like some people say that there's certain ways that you can read it that like maximize like crossovers, where you can read it and be like, oh, I read this book, so I get that small reference. But it honestly doesn't make that big a deal. Like, the big thing is reading Warbreaker before you read Rhythm of War. And since you've already read Warbreaker, like, you're golden. You're good.
Okay. That's good.
Okay, so, do you eat or drink while reading?
Yes. Yes, very much. Oftentimes, like, I read when it's around, like, dinner time and things, so then my mom calls me to eat. I'm usually like, I'm just taking my book with me.
Yeah, I will eat, like, it depends on if I'm reading, like, on ebook or in physical copy, because I don't want to get, like, crumbs and stuff in my book. But if I'm reading on my Kindle or, like, listening to audiobooks, I'll do whatever. But I've had so many times where, like, I'm eating a cookie or something, and I get crumbs in my book and can't get it out, and I'm like, oh no, what have I done? But I'm almost always drinking some sort of tea.
I think I've mastered the skill of keeping a book far enough from me that I can still read whilst eating. But I can, like, I've mastered the skill of not damaging it. I've done it so often.
The true skill of reading is not reading, but it's being able to eat while reading.
God, it's like, that just shows. I'm just joking.
My goodness. Well, I'm jealous. I have not mastered that skill. I've always got, like, some sort of tea or something with me, so I'm always drinking while reading.
Yeah, that's always, like, that's the best, when you have a nice, like, warm cup of tea with honey in it, and then you just sit and read. It's so nice.
So, music or TV while reading?
No. No. Never.
I just love the no, full stop, like, no.
I don't have that kind of concentration, people. Like, no. Like, you don't understand, if someone talks to me while reading, they can 100% be certain that I'm not listening to them. Like, it's not even an insult at that point, it's just a fact. Like, if you start talking to me while I'm reading, it's just, you're talking to yourself. Like,
oh my gosh, you see, my concentration isn't that strong, so if someone starts talking to me while I'm reading, it means that I'm no longer reading because I just can't.
no, I just ignore the person. I'm just like, I'm sorry, but you was very well aware that what I'm doing is very important to me, so just shh.
You misunderstood the signs, and now you must deal with it.
It's your problem.
Definitely no TV for me, and no music with lyrics. But, like, if there's a lot of noise
Yeah,
around me or
very
something, I can do, like, classical music or, like, lo-fi. Like, whenever I'm reading Wheel of Time, I listen to, like, medieval lo-fi music, and, like, that's nice.
I'm sure I could, like, try to read with, like, no lyric music, but I've just never tried, to be honest.
Yeah, and, like, if you don't need to drown someone out, then there's no reason to. My house just gets very loud, and I'm like, you know what? No, I'm putting on some, like, classical piano music, and I'm not listening to any of you.
My house also gets very loud, but usually I just either close my door or find a quiet corner somewhere and just huddle up and read.
Gosh. That was me growing up. Like, they just find me in random places with a book. Like, but it was quiet here.
You're like, don't judge me.
Okay, so one book at a time or several at once?
So usually I read one book at a time, but a little while ago I read 2 books at once, and that was mostly because one of the books that I read, I hated so much that there were times that I wanted to read, but I physically could not pick up the book because it made me want to, like, just run away. So then I just picked up another book and I started reading that one, and then I finished that one before reading the other one. And in the end, I just decided to put that book away, and I was just like, nope, I'm not reading that anymore. It can go just die in the corner somewhere. Yeah. So that's like the only time I've read 2 books at the same time. But generally, I only read one because I get the stories confused.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I scare my parents because I read about usually I'm reading 2 to 4 books at a time. Um and
Oh
so
my gosh.
I'll just have like a pile next to me
don't know
and just
how you
rotate
manage
through.
that.
I don't know, it like I can just keep the story straight in my head. Like that's how I've been reading since I was a kid. And
I don't mind learning how to eat with like food nearly. Like, I mean, never mind like learning to eat while reading. Like, I mean, reading 4 books at the same time, that's a skill that
the 2 of us together would be like the most powerful reader ever. It's like I can eat while reading 4 books at a time. I don't know, I try to get ones that aren't like too similar, and because of that I can normally like keep the story straight. Like right now, my TBR for this like month is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and I know that's going to make me cry my eyes out. And so I also have like a rom-com book to like lighten the mood. And so I'll do things like that. But even then, I'm reading like Wheel of Time and Brandon Sanderson at the same time, which I don't recommend doing. It's quite a bit. And it just sometimes I'll be reading and be like, wait, was that weird guy in this book or that book? And have to like sit and figure things out.
Sometimes when I'm reading, like when I just finish a really good series and then I start the next one, for some reason I start mixing them up and then I have to be like, wait, but this isn't in the same series. Like, I just start thinking of that particular book. So I'm just very bad at it. And I think the reason is because more recently I've only been reading YA fantasy, which is bad. I need to go into other genres, but I've just been enjoying it so much that I just start reading it so much that everything's just starting to muddle together. All of the authors that are quite well known have just started to like mush, and now they're just like one big muddle of fantasy.
Definitely. Yeah, and like don't feel the need to push yourself into a new genre if you don't like want to. Like it's great to find a genre where you like love it. Like I still love YA fantasy. It's a heck of a ride sometimes, but it's definitely interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I know the answer for this one, but reading at home or everywhere?
Everywhere. At school most of the time. When I have school, I probably read a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly wonder what like booktuber is doing this tag or like book blogger and is just saying, no, I only read at home. Like, if you only read at home, then what are you doing here?
Yeah, like, how much time do you have to sit at your house? Like,
anyone that only reads at home.
the amount of books that I read in the
Yeah.
car is insane. I have to be honest, I don't really read in like extremely public places. Like I read at school, but I won't read like in a store or something like that. Cause no, that's a bit like, I don't know. I'd feel uncomfortable, but at school I'm fine. And I read in the car a lot of the time because when you're driving like 30 minutes to school every day, you know, like you're gonna read.
Oh gosh, I'm jealous that you can
Yeah.
read in the car. Like, I get so nauseous so easily that I'm like, I want to read, but I can't.
I think this is the point where you get an audiobook and you listen to that. But like, I don't know, I think I used to get very nauseous until the point where I was like, I will not get nauseous. I will read books in the car. It will be something that I will do. And I don't care if...
You fixed your nausea out of spite. I respect that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I might not read everywhere, but I always have a book with me. So, like, I had to go to physical therapy early this
Yes.
week, and I'm like, there will be no time for me to read, but on the, like, tiny 0.01% chance that there might be, I'm bringing a book with me. And, like, I do that everywhere.
On my holiday, I brought, 5 books with me. I read 3 audiobooks. I bought 3 books. So in total, I basically had 5 plus 3, which is 8 plus another 3, I think. I had 11 books with me, basically, on my holiday of 7 days.
Oh my gosh.
All because I was like, if I finish a book in less than a day, I need to have something else that I can read.
And, like, I'm such a mood reader that I never know what I'm gonna want to read next. So whenever we go on holiday, I bring, like, a mini library with me. And I'm like, I need to have, like, at least one book for every 3 days that we're there. And, like, based off of that, who knows what I'm gonna
Yes.
want to read.
Because, like, I usually, like,
It is
when I need to
ridiculous.
start a series again, usually, you know how people have, like, TBRs and things? I don't have that. Because the thing is, I'm so unpredictable with what I want to read. At one point, I'll be like, no, I'll read this series next. And then the next moment, I'm reading something completely different that I never even knew existed. So, I'm very much an impulse reader. Like, I don't plan what I read. I just kind of pick it up and do it.
I have tried setting a TBR so many times, and I think this month is going to be my last one, because I am so unpredictable. But, like, I've based this all around
Yeah.
how I felt today, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put this down as my TBR. And tomorrow I'm probably gonna change my mind. But, you know, I tried. Okay, so question 8. Reading out loud or silently in your head?
In my head, I have too many people around me to read out loud. I think they'll, like, whack me across the head and be like, why? I don't want to hear about your book.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'd say generally silently in my head, but if I get to, like, a really good part where I love the, like, dialogue and I'm alone, key phrase, if I'm alone, I'll then kind of, like, act out the scene or, like, just dramatically say that line because I'm like, that was just so cool. I want to be a part of that.
That is actually so cool. Like, that's awesome. Sometimes when I get, like, a really good quote in a book, I might run up to my sister's room and be like, I shall read this to you with absolutely no context, and I know you don't even care about books, but I will still read it to you. Just appreciate it. Like, that's the only time I really read out loud.
Yes, that is, like, me and my best friend. I am constantly bothering him with this. But yeah, it's the speech kid in me that always needs to be performing. And I'm like, I don't even have an audience, but I love this part of this book, so we're gonna do it. It's so dramatic, but so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one. Do you read ahead or even skip pages?
Okay, so this is a very kind of embarrassing one for me because I don't read ahead, but when I was younger, like several years ago, when I picked up a book, I used to go to the last page and read the last sentence.
last sentence.
No! You were one of those people?
I know. I've changed, I promise.
Oh my gosh. Wow. And you kept reading after that?
Don't do it anymore. I promise I don't do it anymore, but I used to. And when looking back, I've just been like, what the? No. I was in junior school. It was like 3 years ago, okay?
Skip pages or read ahead on purpose, but like, you know how does everyone else do this where like your eyes kind of wander across the page and then you see something and you're like, well crap, now I know this.
Sometimes. I think that like sometimes happens, but not too often because I try to stay as focused as I can on like, you know, where I am in the book.
Oh gosh, I'm jealous because like I was reading a book, I will not say what it was, but at one point, like, one character seemed like they were about to die, and then was like, wait, no, they might be okay, and then I just skipped, like, my eyes skipped over to the next page, and the last sentence was just like, and he died, and I'm like, no, you can't, like, now I have to go through the rest of this, and I have to go back and reread, and figure out what the heck I missed. And so, like, I have ruined so many things for myself by accidentally, like, reading ahead.
That is actually really sad because you don't get to like experience the tension and like the, you know,
Yeah.
very like random question, but
always, like,
do you sometimes like not, you know, have you cried because a character died that you really liked? Like proper cried?
Okay, yes, and this is embarrassing, because I think the last time that I, like, proper cried whenever a character died, it was, and I can't even remember his name. Oh, it was Jem.
This gem from
Yes!
Wait, no, it wasn't. I teared up at Jem dying.
Devices, that one.
It was in Infernal Devices, and it was, I think, Will? Was Will the other one? I can't even remember at this point. This was so long ago. Whenever he, like,
Yeah.
dies of old age at the end, which I guess I should probably put a spoiler thing,
I
I was in class. I was literally in a room full of people,
cried.
and I broke down sobbing.
That I have to be honest, that is like a fear of mine because I've read books and then I've been on the verge of tears in class and I've been like, you will not cry. You will not cry in front of everyone. Because of a book, especially if you're surrounded by like teenagers who don't necessarily enjoy reading. Like I know a lot of people who don't like reading. They'll just be like, what is wrong with this person? Why is she crying about a book character? Like she doesn't even know the person. But yes, I definitely cried when Will and Jem. I cried when like Will like died of old age, and I cried when Jem became like a silent brother, and I've actually cried.
Yeah.
I've teared up with so many characters, but I've only properly cried with a couple of them.
Gosh, and it's so funny because I cry so easily. Like, I don't know what it was, but I will start
Me too.
crying at the drop of a hat. But whenever it comes to books, it has to be something, like, that really hits me hard. And so, like, and a lot of times it isn't actually the death of the character, it's how other people react to the death of the character.
Yes! Yes! You know, I have a lot of...
I'm not crazy.
Yes! I have a lot of things, you know, like Harry Potter. I have a lot of problems with it, quite obviously. But when I was younger, I didn't really realize a lot of those problems. And I think one of the first times I properly cried because a character died was the second time I read Harry Potter when Dumbledore died. Because then I realized that, hey, like a lot of the decisions that Harry made in the future was because of that death. And that was the first time I properly cried because that's when I realized this ruined him. Like, this ruined him. But, you know, I don't feel as bad anymore because I have some problems with the books. But, you know, it's fine.
Oh gosh, maybe we need to do another video that's like, was Dumbledore a good person? Like, we need to have that discussion. Because I dislike Dumbledore almost as much as I dislike Snape. Like, he's up there for me.
I like Dumbledore a lot more, but the thing is, I think the reason I liked him a lot more is because, last time I read Harry Potter, I was quite like, I think it was about last year. And I know that's not too long ago, but last year I was very ignorant and I didn't even really read into books as much as I do now. Like, now I read a lot, like, deeper into books and I'm like, oh wait, this character is actually quite abusive. So I think I definitely need to reread the books to actually be like, wait, is this, you know... Because the more I think about Harry Potter as books, there are a lot more problems than I first realized when I read it, like, the first time, you know?
And speaking of Harry Potter, I'm gonna slide in a little promo here for go check out our video on Leilah's channel, where we will be discussing whether Snape deserved a redemption arc. And you might get some more Harry Potter hot takes from the two of us. So if that sounds interesting, go ahead and check that out. Okay, quick note from editing Ilana, which is that I once again had technical issues, but I know what caused them, so this will not be happening again. But I did lose my last, 10 minutes of footage. Luckily, we still have Leilah's footage, so you'll still be able to get, the conversation and everything. It just won't have, the better audio on my side. So, yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts about Harry Potter. And, I'm one of those people where I think it's important to separate the work from the author, but I also completely understand the people that can't.
Yes. But also I think that even Harry Potter as a work itself, it has issues.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It has so many issues. And the thing that I love about Harry Potter is not the actual books, if that makes sense. I love the world that the fans have built. I love the headcanons. I love everything that, the fans have created. But anything that J.K. Rowling says is canon is immediately, thrown out the window for me.
I have to be honest, I feel like with Harry Potter as a child, I didn't really think of, diversity is a very clear issue in Harry Potter. It's one that's, very big. And I think as a child when I read it, I wasn't necessarily admiring the characters or any of those things. I think I was just thinking, in my world, Harry Potter isn't necessarily... Hogwarts and the entire world of Harry Potter isn't the way that the books wrote it. It's a lot more accepting. And I think... Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult because even though the books are still very, they're not necessarily how people view them nowadays. If you read them, they're not actually what people remember, I think. Some people. If that makes any sense. I feel like some people remember it better than it actually is, and I'm definitely one of those people.
Yeah, I think people romanticize it a lot.
Yeah.
And kind of
and I think
ignore some of the things or just didn't pay attention.
Yeah. And I think it's because in our minds, we kind of turn it into something good because we're older. Our children mind didn't really, as children, we didn't really pick it up as much, but now when we're older, we just remember it how we want to remember it. You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, you don't want to let go of that magic. And so, that's why I love the, fan ideas. I love hanging out on, the Harry Potter headcanon part of Tumblr, because it's so accepting and so lovely. And, as a queer, disabled person, in my head, Hogwarts is completely different than whatever J.K. Rowling wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, those stairs give me anxiety, and so I love seeing headcanons about, what they would do for disabled people on the weird shifting staircases and stuff. And, just being more diverse and accepting.
Yeah, I think
I'm completely here for Death of the Author and all of that whenever it comes to Harry Potter.
Yeah. And I think, there's, I don't know, it's such a difficult thing because I know a lot of people are saying that they don't agree with what J.K. Rowling is saying, but they still like the books. They're separating the books from the author. But I feel like once you do that, your actions are still supporting the author. You can't necessarily do it because if you're separating the book from the author, you can just buy Harry Potter and then, hey, some of that money is going to J.K. Rowling. You're paying her for excluding people. you know, you're not actually being like, hey, this is not okay, you know? I don't know if that's, like, if that makes sense. I think
it completely makes sense. Like, you can complain on Twitter about her all you want, but if you're still putting money in her pocket, then you're telling her that it's okay to keep doing the things that she is.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, I completely agree. So, why don't we finish up these last 3 questions, and then we can, like, actually talk about this in the video.
Oh my gosh, why do we keep going back to this? I'm sorry, like, that was me.
Oh, no, I was deleting stuff, and, like, chatting with you is a lot of fun. So, okay, yeah. So, breaking the spine or keeping it, like, new is the question.
So, I try not to break the spine, but I'm not good at it, and I always end up breaking the spine, even if I don't try to. So, you know, we're just kind of we're trying, but we're not succeeding.
Yeah, I don't know why, but growing up, I thought it looked better if I broke the spine. Like, I thought it looked more red and, like...
Okay, that is true.
So
it looks loved.
The spine. It looks loved, but also, I would just go through and perfectly break the spines of my books, and now I cringe to think about that. But I try to keep the spines looking like new, unless it's like a mass market paperback, where like they're so small. Sometimes you just have to break the spine to actually see the words that are in the crease.
And I think also sometimes if you have a really thick book, like some of the Brandon Sanderson books, you can't not break the spine because it's so long that the amount of time that you spend reading it, the book spine will break. Like, it's not strong enough to hold it. Like, I'm finding that with Mistborn. Like, the spine's not broken yet, but it's getting there. Like, it's almost broken. And it's brand new, so I'm sad.
Yeah, I'm trying to show this on my camera right now, because I actually have the big, like, floppy paperbacks of Brandon Sanderson. And what I've noticed is the spine doesn't break.
Yes,
but it bends.
Yes, the floppy paperbacks are a lot better than the harder ones. They're a lot like less breakable, and I find them easier to read as well.
Yeah, they're a lot easier to read.
I can't find them here though. Like, I can't seem to find like floppy books in where I live usually.
Yeah, it's so frustrating trying to get books like outside of the US and like, but like I noticed that my books, the spines are like super curved now because they haven't broken; they've just like curved inwards. And so they look quite well loved, but the image is safe, and I'm like, okay, I can accept that.
Yeah. I don't know, because I have a Percy Jackson box set. And I generally have this thing where I read Percy Jackson once a year or twice a year just because it gives me so much nostalgia, and I don't know, there's a lot of just good things in that series that I just love so much.
Oh my gosh.
So the spines are so broken that if I hold the book, it will fall like open in the middle. Like, I'm not joking, those spines are dead. I want to invest in a hardback copy of like a box set of the books. They're just so expensive. But I really want to invest in that because I think like I just love them so much. Like, you know, so good.
Yeah, but if it's something that you love that much, then it really is an investment.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the last one is, do you write in your books?
No. I've never written in a book. I can't. I think if I ever were to write in a book, it would be a copy of a book. Like, if I had 2 copies of one book, I might write in one book and keep the other one clean. But no.
Yeah, I write in books, but I only write in thrifted books. And only if they're a certain type of book.
Yeah.
So usually an older book where I want to write my opinions down. So the
Yeah.
one I can think of most is that I wrote in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because there were so many pieces that were just so ridiculous, where I just had little notes that's like, oh my gosh, why would you say this? Or, oh, someone give this guy a hug, and like stuff like that.
It's so cute.
At the time, I just have so many emotions where I'm like, I need to direct this somewhere.
I have to be
but
honest.
Also, like, for school, I have to edit things.
I really want to get another copy of Night Circus. The one I have now is thrifted, which is very weird for me. I got it for 10 Rand, which is, I think, at the moment less than $1.
Oh, nice.
And
oh, yeah, it definitely
yeah. And
it's like 16 Rand now.
I really want to get a hard copy of Night Circus because I love it so much. And then I want to get like a highlighter, and I want to highlight some of the good quotes in the thrifted version. Because my goodness, that book has quotes. Like, if there was a book I could choose for like best quotes, I want to do that. But because I don't have another copy of the book, I'm not ready to highlight the one I have now yet. But you know, hopefully one day we'll do that.
Oh yeah, no, that's amazing. I actually haven't read Night Circus yet. I've heard some amazing things though. So that will be going on my TV.
Yes. I'm like the first person to recommend Night Circus to you. I read it like this year, and even though it doesn't have that much plot, but Erin Morgenstern is like a really good writer. Like, she just manages to pull you into a world with like the description she has. It's just, I can't.
Yeah, it's always amazing whenever you find an author that's like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would probably, I don't want to write in my nice floppy paperback, but like a lot of the Brandon Sanderson quotes about like depression and a lot of that just hit home so much.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to get a whole new set of the Stormlight Archive because that is expensive as all get out. But like there are definitely some. I've started tabbing my books. So
I did that once. I did that once as well, but I've stopped because it takes so long. But yeah.
Okay, just popping in once again because we didn't do an outro. We just went right into the next thing, which you should absolutely go check out her channel and the video that we did over there, because Leilah is such an amazing person and we had such a fun time doing these. Yeah, so links are down below as always to my social media and also to Black Lives Matter and donations for the typhoons, Typhoon Ulysses, I believe it was, and whatever else I decided to put down there. So you should go check those out before you go. So bye. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you, if you did, you like and possibly subscribe. I don't know, it's up to you, but yeah. So bye.